Do Arsenal need to sign a winger in the summer? Let me know what you think. Do we need to sign Nico Williams? As several news reports have stated, Nico Williams, who currently plays for Bilbao, is a man in high demand. There's not a club that plays at the higher level of European football that hasn't been linked with the young, talented Spanish winger. Now, from what it is, throughout the course of this video, I'm going to weigh up his pros and cons in my personal opinion. Once again, let me know what you think. Now, if you didn't know, he currently plays for Bilbao, primarily on the left-hand side as an inside forward. He does have the ability to play on the right-hand side as well. He's become a key player for them and even helped them win a trophy recently alongside his brother, Nico Williams. How great would it be, not that I have a brother, to win a professional trophy with your brother at your boyhood club? He's better known for his speed, his dribbling ability, his flair, his goal-scoring prowess, which is still developing. We'll get on to that. He's represented Spain at several different youth levels and reached the highest pinnacle you can be in a youth Spanish international with getting a few caps for the full national team. It's been quite a remarkable rise in such a short span of time for him, from coming from humble beginnings at Bilbao to being labelled as one of the most exciting young prospects currently in world football. He made his La Liga debut for his current club in 2021. Since then, as stated, he has gone on to become a significant player for the red and white side. He's contributed to goals and helping them win trophies. He's represented his country. Again, for me, what I like about him is how he utilizes his speed and his dribbling. In the present day, there's hardly any wingers, in my opinion. There's a handful, but there's hardly any wingers that genuinely want to just continuously get at their fullback and quite simply put embarrass them. And I do think that's the first thing that attracts me. Where you look at our failed pursuits of someone like Mikhail Mudryk or Pedro Neto once upon a time, I wonder, is Mikel Arteta wanting a wide man that can provide that, whether it's off the bench or starting in games where he deems that that's the best possible way of winning it ultimately according to the game state. As I said, he primarily plays as a left-sided winger. He utilizes his speed and dribbling to maneuver or outmaneuver defenders. I do think his crossing can improve, but he's almost like a traditional wideman in that regards. People can also play on the right, and again, him being left-footed like Bukayo Saka, imagine having a second player that could deputize for Bukayo Saka or shift over to the left. But if they do play on the right, cutting off that right-hand side onto their left foot, as we've seen with Bukayo Saka, it's a scary sight, not for us Arsenal fans, but obviously the opposition. And I like the fact that, when he shoots, he's got very little backlift. He is primarily left-footed, and hardly left-footers are weird in that they want to show the world that they're left-footed and never really want to use their right foot, which obviously can improve people. He does get involved in team plays. He's not a player that's just going to sit on the peripheral things. He does look to contribute defensively. There's so much improvements he can make, but currently his side Bilbao, I wouldn't say they're a great defensive side, but where you look at their manager, he emphasizes that. So again, I think there's transferable skills. If he was to sign for Arsenal Football Club, he would offer support to the rest of our attacking players. He provides someone that comes with a lot of versatility, and there's the scope to play in different roles, something Mikel Arteta loves to do. Combines well with his teammates and gets involved across the whole game, really. He's not a moments kind of man, if I'm completely honest. Some players you don't see for 89 minutes. They do something crazy. It gets clipped up. Everybody cares about sofa score ratings. And again, he, in my opinion, through his short career, he showcased his impressive statistics at a point this season. He started the season very well. In his opening 18 matches, he got 11 goals, which I believe, I'm not sure now, but at the time made him his club's current goal scorer, people, and fourth in the league. And then he got seven assists to go with that. So at the time, he was, his team's top goal scorer and provided the second best assist for his team at the time, who were fifth in the league. You want to hear a wide man can take their player on. At a point, using a small sample size, he completed 65 successful dribbles, leading both his team and league statistics in that regards, people. Obviously, describing a player like this, you're going to get fouled. At a point, he received 42 fouls, making him the second most fouled player on his team, and at a point, sixth in the league. He was also the fourth best passer in his team at a point, with 79% of attempted passes finding a teammate, and 12th in the league. I can't lie, I would describe him at times as a bit wasteful, but statistically, he looks after the ball well. There's many gears to his game. He's young and impressionable, and again, still in a phase of learning and improvement, but it's almost like he's he's got a foundation that's almost like a blank canvas that I just wish that I would like to see under Mikel Arteta and see what he can work with in that regards. I must admit, I do think he's a bit overrated internally within the Arsenal fan base. I don't think he's the messiah and he ends everything, but I do think fundamentally he's a young, impressionable player with a lot of skills that would be an asset to the football club. As I said, he's still learning and improving in that regards, people. He does have great pace, which would be amazing on the transition. Obviously, he's got technical, high technical gifts to his game. He's got a high technical level. He's got great trickery on the ball. And again, he's someone that will take on his winger consistently. If you go back to the 2022-23 campaign, he completed 6.8 take-ons per game. At the time, that made him the 13th most of any player in Europe's big five domestic leagues. If you didn't know, that's La Liga, Prem, Serie A, Bundesliga, and Liga. With over 900 minutes of game time at the time, only 3 players aged 21 or under averaged more on a per game basis. And then you look at his season at the time, it took him to around 200 take-ons. Only Kylian Mbappe and Vinicius Jr. were better than him in that regards, which you're doing something quite well with 2 world-class players are the only ones in front of you. At the time, he also averaged 2.2 carries into the opposition's penalty area per game last season. That's an impressive rate, people. That paints a picture of a positive dribbler. Again, it demonstrates just how relentless he can be with a ball at his feet on both sides of the pitch. And then when you look at people, his shot creating actions, it is relatively high proportion of such at 17%, in which led to, shot creating actions for his teammates. Almost 3/4 of the opportunities he creates for others still come from open play passes, people, and set piece deliveries. He's obviously great at that. So again, there's a lot of transferable skills, people. Going back to last term, a tally of 5.9 crosses per game ranked him 6th in La Liga. Now, Arsenal not really a crossing side. Set pieces, yes. Occasionally we're going to cross the ball and head it in, but that's not us. So there's a lot of transferable skills, but we got to remember his current employers and Arsenal, it's like any company or job that you lot work for. They might be in the same industry, which Bilbao and Arsenal are, they're both football teams, but there's a different ethos and culture and demands that the managers have to kind of maneuver with, if that makes sense, people, in that regards. I do think at times throughout this season and last season, he's created some great opportunities, and I don't feel Bilbao have a clinical striker for him or attackers for him to really benefit and get his assists much higher up, if I'm honest with you. As I said, he's a strong dribbler. He's keen to run at his attackers. It does come at a risk, and the risk has to be calculated. When you look at Bukayo Saka and Martinelli, they do take on players, but a lot of it is what they're doing off the ball, the areas they're going to receive the ball in, their body positioning. You rarely see Saka and Martinelli, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. They're never just taking on their man from minute 0 to 90. Lord knows, as an Arsenal fan, I would love to see that happen. And again, when you're a footballer, an attacking player, risks are going to happen. Again, you look at everyone throughout the team. We've got David Raya. He's very good at the modern day goalkeeper stuff. Occasionally, there's going to be the mistakes like when he tried to play it to Thomas Partey in the North London derby, or Odegaard might try and play a pass, it get intercepted, they go and hit us down the other end. The same goes for Saka and Martinelli. It's just a natural be all and end all. It is what it is. It's like being a chef. Once or twice, you're gonna cut your hand, but at the same time, there's risk to reward, and it has to be calculated, people. And I do find for as much as I like about him and his pros, I do find he's quite wasteful at times. Sometimes he can dribble into blind alleys, give the ball away cheaply, be a bit too ambitious in possession, which again is not necessarily a bad thing. But if we go back to last season, his take on success rate was at 41.5%, which is quite low for someone of his ability. And it suggests again that he could probably be a bit too ambitious in his possession. And when we know not all modern coaches necessarily like consistent risks like that, ultimately I find he's very raw. Mentally, I think he's got the resolute character, but I think he's very raw. And when you look at how he started the first 19 games this season, it was great. Then there was a period he actually went 12 games without scoring until he bagged against Atletico Madrid in the same period. He did also get 2 assists, and as we know, numbers are not everything. But would he really be a curtain raiser? Of course, people were saying Kai Havertz wasn't, and naturally he would make us stronger because when you exclude Trossard, Saka, and Martinelli, arguably none of the other wide men are talking to him. We haven't seen Smith Rowe playing that role again. We haven't really seen Reece Nelson. The young Koza Jubre ain't been given an opportunity. So again, he will make our squad ultimately stronger, in my opinion. But I do think this is a player still getting to grips with playing his role, learning the tricks and the trades, and really operating at that higher level in terms of goals and assists. And if you're not necessarily going to score or assist, just making the difference. As I said, he's a bit of a raw blank canvas in which I think there's a lot of transferable skills. I think there's a good foundation for Mikel Arteta to work with. But at the point of signings for this football club, if he did, for the argument's sake of this video, is it a curtain raiser? I have to say not really. I do think he excels in space on the transition, which would be great when you look at times in the Premier League. It's quite end to end. That just seems like the belly of the beast of the Premier League, and naturally what it's like. But at times, I must admit, through watching Bilbao and getting research for you guys, there are games he's excelled when the opposition haven't given him space and it's been tight and congested. But it doesn't. He's nowhere near as effective, and versus when the game is extremely open. And again, I do think in many ways when it's end to end in the Premier League, naturally he will thrive. But as we know, typically Arsenal Football Club, we've got 11 opposition players in their own half, sitting in low and mid blocks and just stinking out the place. Is his pace really relevant if that was the case? It doesn't matter how fast you are. Saka and Martinelli are fast, but they've had to find other ways of getting around that, really. How good is he in the pockets? How good is he when he can't run at players and do skills? How good is he at his worst? How good is he able to affect the game if he haven't scored or assisted? Let me know your thoughts. These are questions for Mikel Arteta and the footballing world, really and truly. So, yeah, if it's low and mid blocks, would he really be effective in that regards? Again, when you look at some of his statistics, he started the season well, really. But at this moment, last time I checked, in the league, I think he's got 4 goals. Is that enough? Is that enough for us to try and dislodge Martinelli? We get on to Martinelli and Gabriel Jesus for not providing enough in that regards. You could argue, though, if he did sign for Arsenal, because of our system, the way we play, the way we fashion and create chances, and us being one of the bigger teams in Europe now, he would naturally, his statistics might look a bit better, in which I could dislodge that when we just go back and speak over previous players that we have. So I guess, one big thing would be the consistency levels. He is a hot and cold player, but you could argue him being a rotational option that takes the burden off. I do think he's improved massively defensively, but I think that is a very big area for him to improve. While already a very well-rounded player in certain regards, there are several aspects of his game he could improve. Number one would be consistency. I do think his finishing could do with a lot more precision, and I would say, just having more variety in his game and being a bit more unpredictable. And again, even his manager Ernesto Valverde has both praised his talent and his potential, but I said he needs to work harder and be more versatile in that regards. So in conclusion, when you look at our failed pursuits once again of the Mudryks, the Netos, the Rafinhas, it does suggest Arteta knows he A, needs a winger, and B, would like someone that is a bit pacey and different to what we have. I think he's got the raw materials to be a vital asset for his fellow Spaniard in Mikel Arteta. I think he's got the right age profile to go with collectively what we're doing. I think he's on the upward trajectory. I think he's got a release clause that isn't too expensive. I think it's just over 50 odd million quid. It's crazy to say that's not expensive, but you get the point. I do think he would be a good option in the side. Is the 4 goals he's bagged in the league, forgive me if I'm wrong, good enough though, folks? Good player, but in my opinion, at the moment, internally, extremely overrated. But he's got a good foundation, man. I can't get away from that. There are a lot of good things I think he would bring in, and if we are to bring a wide man in and we were to bring in Mr. Williams, I wouldn't be against it. But that's my thoughts, people. Let me know if you think he's the right answer, the wrong answer. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Check out the rest of the other vids. Stay safe, stay blessed. Peace.